What's up, everybody? This is Phil Rogacki.
And I'm Jared Abergina.
You're listening to Two Tree Guys Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Phil Rogacki here with another episode of Two Tree Guy Podcast. Appreciate everybody listening in this morning, tonight, or wherever you may be. Man, this show, like I always say, I'm always excited to bring guests on the show, hear about innovations, hear about safety and training and all these different talks we have. But today we have a special guest. Of course, they're all special, but this one's a little more special. And the reason why is because I think he's been on the podcast more than anybody for the Two Tree Guy, and that means a lot. Is Mr. David White, CEO of TCIA. Welcome, David.
Yeah,
welcome.
nice to be here.
Definitely. And you know, we have a fee for the show. I wish I could say it's $100 if you listen to it, send it to me, but it's not. It's to share it. In our industry is probably the most sharing industry there's out there, from competitors to just individual different everybody's willing to share, to go to tree climbing competitions and watch individuals cheering on the one that they're competing against, to different brands and tree companies helping them out, giving them different products. It's such a sharing industry. So that's all we ask for this. If you guys get something out of this today from David and learn something, if you laugh, if you thought, oh, okay, I understand that, share it. You got something, somebody else is going to get that, and that's all we ask for you to do. But today, Dave's going to be bringing a little training, which I'm excited to hear. And it's to get the tools you need to succeed in this industry, to get the tools you need to succeed. And there's a wealth of knowledge in this man's head, and I know it's going to be a short 20 to 30-minute podcast. And, of course, since you're the number one person coming on the show all the time, you're a regular. I have never called anybody a regular, and I like that. So let's dive right into this, Dave.
Yeah. So, I was thinking, here we are at, I'm moving my head around.
Yeah, no problem.
Here we are at TCIA Expo, and there's all this great equipment, and there's all these great service providers. And really what you want to think about is, what are all the tools that you need for your company to succeed? And I think a lot of us kind of immediately gravitate towards the obvious things, like we need trucks, we need chainsaws, we need chippers, we need ropes. But what about the business tools? And you have here on the table, rocket fuel, which is part of the EOS library. TCIA has been running on EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, now for 5 years. And it completely changed how we approach business. And it gave us those tools to understand what we're doing, think about where we're going, build cadence within the organization, build culture within the organization. That's a tool that's out there that not everybody necessarily thinks of. I think a lot of us get so buried in the weeds and so focused on the day-to-day working in the business instead of taking that step back to work on the business.
Exactly. And this is, I'm learning a lot from Rocket Fuel, because that's exactly what it's talking about. Being that visionary and finding the integrator, or maybe you're the integrator and you own the company doing the day-to-day, the operations. You need that visionary, that person to go out for the big deals, the culture, and help that. Is so important to that. So I agree 100% with you on there.
Yeah. And I think, it's coming to an event like TCI Expo, networking. You said this is such a sharing industry, and that is absolutely true. You don't have to figure out all these things for yourself. We happen to provide and facilitate peer-to-peer networks that you can join through TCIA, and you can, you'll spend a day in a room with 8 or 10 other tree care owners going through, hey, here's the issues and challenges I'm facing in my business. And some folks are gonna say, you know what, I dealt with the exact same thing 5 years ago. Here's what worked, here's what didn't work. You don't have to do this on your own.
No, and that's why I love winter management.
Right.
Because I get to sit by a pool, I get to hang out with somebody that has a tree company in West Virginia, and I get to hear all the mistakes they made and all the failures. And they're like, don't do it this way. Here's what I learned.
Right.
Now I don't have to spend 3 years to figure that out. I literally have to spend 3 hours talking to this individual, and Monday I can start implementing something and not make those mistakes.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely.
The peer-to-peer is awesome here. And when you come to TCIA, or just any event around our industry, it's, yeah, we got wonderful classes when it's there, but the individuals, the different owners, the different climbers, you learn from them, and getting some people surrounding you that are maybe veterans or anybody, they could just start in the industry. They have different looks and different experiences that they can share with you, that so you don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah. I was talking to Dan Christie last night, longtime veteran of this industry. And he was talking about, he can tell who the successful people are going to be because they're the ones sitting there listening to everybody else,
2 ears, 1 mouth.
Yeah.
Listen twice as you talk.
Right. And the other thing is you can also tap into resources. This is probably going to sound weird coming from the guy from TCIA, but there are resources outside of the industry as well. I happen to participate in Vistage. There are other similar organizations.
What's Vistage?
So it's peer-to-peer, but you're CEOs of different industries. So there's nobody else in my group that does trade. Well, there's one other guy who does trade associations, but there's nobody who does tree care, right? There's 13 different people, 13 different businesses, right? So I learn stuff from them, and then I can also go and do networking with other association management professionals. So, maybe it's your Rotary Club, maybe it's something like that. But there are other, always be seeking that knowledge, always be looking for those tools. Hey, do I want to make my business bigger? Do I want to make it safer? Like, what are the goals that you have? Back to your point about visionary, if you can sit down and really think about, hey, in 10 years, what do I want this company to look like? And maybe it's, I want to be out of the company, but where do you want to be in 10 years? And the idea here is they call it the big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a guidepost. You may never get there, but it's that lighthouse on a hill. Okay, if that's where we're going, where do I need to be in the next 3 years to be at least on track with that? Now you can sit down and say, okay, so if that's where I want to be in 3 years, what do I need to do this year? What do I need to do this quarter? What do I need to do this week? Right? And it's all in the EOS stuff. But that can also help you figure out what tools you need. Yeah. Right? Like, okay, hey, I want to be at a place where I'm transitioning out of this business in 10 years. So I need to start thinking, am I going ESOP? Am I selling to a local company? Am I selling to a national company?
Private equity.
What's my exit strategy here? And then you start building things around that. I think we're going to have him speak at a future Winter Management, but I just heard a presentation from a gentleman, and he said, he does a lot of these, helps companies negotiate a merger or an exit strategy.
Okay.
And the 6 months before you're ready to retire is not the time to figure out what your company's worth.
And I always say some of these individuals and don't just put an ad on the back of TCIA saying I'm ready to sell my company. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's other things that you can do to prepare. That's not the end. Like, oh, hopefully someone calls me and says, yeah, I want to buy it. Right. There's a lot more you need to do. It's not within 6 months putting the ad in and calling it, okay, I'm done.
Right? And because the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to be disappointed in what you get for offer.
You sure will, because it's worth $1 billion to you. Blood, sweat, and tears. Right. 40 years you put in that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, again, but your goals are going to determine some of that, right? The other thing is I have found really helpful and useful, and we have some of these folks in the TCIA sort of orbit, if you will. There's a lot of now like fractional services that you can tap into, so you can get like, oh, I don't have the time or the budget to have a full-time CFO, but you can tap into fractional CFOs. We happen to outsource our HR now to a company called Puzzle HR. So instead of having a person on staff who's handling all our HR needs, we can tap into the experts at this company. Oh, we're doing recruitment? Great. They've got a person who specializes in recruitment. Oh, you want to update your employee handbook? We've got somebody who, is an expert in doing that. Oh, you need somebody to explain your health insurance benefits to your employees? Great. We got somebody who that's what they do. But you're paying for one person, basically, but you're getting the person you need for the thing you're doing. That's an awesome tool that probably a lot of people don't sit and think about. So there's a lot of resources now that are available out there that you can, and again, some of these folks are in the TCIA orbit. Some of them are folks that you're going to find closer to home. But you can tap into those resources and you can boost yourself up without breaking your budget.
I like that on the puzzle, because it's probably the last thing that a tree care company wants to hire as an HR person with our industry, right? So they're like, we never had one before. I've never worked with an HR person. Where do I go? But you need that stuff to protect you on there. So to have a company that has years and years and hundreds and thousands of probably customers that they built all these forms and everything you need to guide you, they've cut out bringing someone in and learning your company and learn all that. They can just feed you the, here's what you need right here. And have it accessible at any given time.
Right. And I think that's sort of repeating what you just said, but I think that's the challenge a lot of us face is like, oh, I maybe I know I need this. Maybe I think I need this. Maybe I think I want this, but I can't pay for it. Or this other thing.
It's expensive.
Or whatever. Again, find those tools that you need because that's going to save you time, money, and heartache later.
I like that. Puzzle. What else? How does TCIA, what kind of other tools do you guys use to succeed out there?
So we have several different things. Part of EOS, excuse me, there's a software program called Bloom Growth. Traction, EOS also has their own called, I forget what it's called, but it's a great software program that allows us to...
And EOS, let me say, can you explain EOS to everybody out there?
Sure. So EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It was created by this guy, Gino Wickman. And one of the things I really like about him, it's based off of his book called Traction, Get Traction in Your Business. One of the things he says is, you've heard all this somewhere else before. I'm just packaging, right? And so, it really is just sort of oh yeah, I've always thought about that, but I never really thought about how to implement it, right? So I would definitely recommend that book to folks. But what the software does is it's everything. So it's your weekly meeting agendas, your team meetings, it's scorecards. What are your leading indicators? It's HR, your quarterly performance reviews are all in this software package. So that's a really important tool to us. I talked about Puzzle HR,
and Bloom Growth.
Bloom Growth is one of the software programs. Yep.
Okay.
And then,
and what is Bloom Growth?
It's an EOS based software program. It used to be called Traction Tools.
Okay. And then so it's okay.
Yeah.
So how'd you guys pick that one? I mean,
at the time it was the biggest one on the market, and it used all the EOS vocabulary.
Okay.
And that was really important to us.
Now, is the biggest one on the market always the one that may fit some of these companies?
No, I just happen to like it. But again, I think what I would say to folks is, how are you keeping things organized, right? So are you consistently having, these team meetings? Are you consistently aware of again, that 10-year, 3-year, 1 year? Does everyone in the company have vision into that? Do you know how are we going to measure? What does success look like and how are we going to measure it? And what are those leading indicators, right? So revenue is the biggest lagging indicator there is, right? So what are the inputs that you want to think about? And there's a great exercise. Okay, I want $1 million in revenue. Okay, well, that means we have to do this many proposals, which means we have to do that. And then, okay, so what I really need is how many phone calls a day did I make? And that's what's on your scorecard, not the revenue number. I mean, that you want to have discussions about the revenue number, but what you want on your weekly scorecard is how many phone calls did we make?
Did you guys hear that? Scorecard. You have to have a scorecard. Nobody knows if you win or lose without a scorecard.
Yeah.
You need a score. Go to a basketball game. Go to a football game. I got a scoreboard. If I can't see who's winning or losing, it's stupid. It's boring. I don't get it. It's just watching people throw a ball back and forth. You need a scoreboard. You need a scoreboard.
Yeah. So, again, I think it's to take a step back for a second. It's what are the right tools for you and for your company? So I can sit here all day long. Yeah. I think EOS is great. It's worked well for us. I also recognize that's not the case for everybody, right? And maybe you don't need a full operating system, but what are those tools that would help you take that next step?
Okay, so take a tree company. Let's just say someone's been around for 8 years, $2 million, or they're growing, small team, they're making it happen. Hearing this, listen to it right now, and you said, what are the right tools for you? I'm the owner. What do I do? I'm like, okay, what are my right tools? How do I get this process started? Do I just sit in a room, write down what I think I need? Do I make a list from top priorities to low priorities? Where do I begin?
I really think that's where the peer-to-peer and the networking is so essential. And not to sort of, I guess, be selfish here, but I think the first thing I would do is come to winter management, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And to your point, if you're sitting by the pool or you're sitting in one of our classrooms and you're networking, you're talking about what are you doing in your company, that's going to start to give you some ideas about like, wow, I've never really thought about doing that. Maybe I should approach it this way. Maybe I should approach that. You're not, you could sit in an empty room with a piece of paper and try to figure it out. But I would tap in winter management, peer-to-peer, other, like I said, other businesses in your area, not necessarily tree care companies, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's how you're going to learn. And I can't tell you how many people I bump into at an event like Expo that are like, man, I got to tell you, last year I sat down with Noel Boyer and man, I've completely changed how I run my company. Those kinds of things, because those are the conversations that you need to have.
And you don't even, like you said, you don't even know it might be an issue for you, but all of a sudden you hear how someone else is doing it, you're going, man, I don't do it that way. And maybe I could even switch it. Yeah. Now it put an idea in your head to start marinating and thinking and building that, which is good. And that's one reason why I love winter management, because the leaders of companies, it's hard to get fed. So if you're not reading books, you're not watching videos, trying to feed yourself to help yourself grow, it's usually you having to give so much. And then this is an opportunity for you to be able to take. Yeah. And take from experts out there, to take from your peers, and also at the same time, not just take from them, but to give your part on that.
Yeah. And I think to add on that as well, like what I said about Dan Christie, like always be listening, right? Because it's not going to be one speaker or one book or one conversation. You've got to, pick and choose and meld all of this into something that works for you. And the only way you're going to do that is to continue to have those conversations, to read those books, to listen to those podcasts. You're always, it's continuous learning. Always.
Guess what, guys? You're never going to figure it out.
Nope.
You don't have it figured out. So it's constant learning. And, I'm going to just kind of reiterate on some of the things you were talking about, Vistage. Vistage, how does people they just look up Vistage?
Yep. It's Vistage.com.
And they'll connect people all over the country.
They have facilitators all over the country, all over the world. And they can tap you into a group local. If you want to do a peer-to-peer group that's just tree care companies, reach out to TCIA.
Okay.
Reach out to your member engagement manager.
Okay.
But yeah, those are out there. Those resources are there.
TCIA, Vistage. You talked about Puzzle.
Yep.
HR system that TCIA is using.
Yep.
Getting a hold of them. I don't know their website, but look up Puzzle HR. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Look them up to help you. And then talking about Bloom Growth, EOS. Those are some great tools and starting points to make sure they fit for you.
Yeah.
Do your research, learn. But start somewhere on this. If you're having issues in HR, go to Puzzle. Start learning, start calling, start asking the questions, getting that information over. And then if Puzzle you don't feel is the right fit, I'm sure there's some other ones out there that are
absolutely
fit good for you.
Absolutely. I think the point is just recognizing now that we're in this sort of, with AI and service-based economy, you can go out and outsource some things that maybe 10, 15 years ago you wouldn't have considered doing.
Yeah.
I think a fractional CFO is another one of those things. Like, you can have a bookkeeper, but somebody who can actually come in and go through the numbers with you and
strategize with you.
Yeah, and some strategy. I mean, what's that worth?
I'm working on that right now. Someone cold called me for my concrete company I have, and they're strategists. They've worked with a private equity company before. I've talked to them, like, eventually I'd like to sell this. Great. Now I'm working with them right now to come in to strategize and give me this. And I need this so bad.
Yeah.
I need it so bad because I don't want to sit and look at all these numbers. I want someone to take it all and give me exactly what I need to know, so I can use my gut, my heart, and my brain to make the right decisions for the company.
Right.
But I need someone to give me that information because I don't want to do it.
Right.
Same thing with HR. I want someone just to give me the information. I don't want to do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's what this book, Rocket Fuel, is too, is I want to, like Jeremy Tibbetts would say, I just want to get my crayons and markers and paint and draw and do all that. That's what I want to do. I want to invent. I want to create.
Yeah.
And I need these tools around me so it allows me to do what I'm good at and what I'm happy with.
Yeah.
I'm not happy in HR. I'm not happy in accounting.
Yeah.
Other people are, and I need those people to be around me so I can paint and draw with my crayons.
That's talk about tools. A really great one. There's different versions of it. You may have heard of like the Jacari window.
No, I have not.
But basically what you do is you take a piece of paper, 4 quadrants, right? There's the stuff you love to do and the stuff you're good at. There's the stuff you're good at and you hate to do. There's the stuff you hate to do and you're bad at, and there's the stuff that you're bad at but you love to do. And if you could actually take an hour of your time and fill that out, to your point, you want to spend as much time up in that, this is what I'm good at and this is what I love doing. And you want to get rid of the stuff that you're bad at and you hate doing, right?
It's like that guy from EOS says, you know, I'm just putting it all together. I've heard of that before.
Right.
And now that you explain, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's where I want to spend my time.
I want to be here. I'll find somebody else to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I may dabble in these if I need to, but this is where I'm going to excel.
Right.
And it's the same thing with your team. You know, let's find that same position for everybody in your team.
Yeah.
There's three things I always say in as being a leader, I look for three things in an individual. What are they really good at? I'm talking more talented than anybody in the world. Where are they needed at the company? Where they're happiest? And if I could find all three of those, I got them in the right spot for them, for me, for the company, for our clients.
Yep.
And that's what I want to keep doing for each individual person. So these tools definitely help to get you to that point, get you in that happy point.
Oh, absolutely. I reference this all the time. They're actually making a movie, or they've made a movie that's going to come out at Christmas called The Boys in the Boat. It's a book. It's about the 1938 men's Olympic rowing team who went into Nazi Germany and were not supposed to win the gold medal and did. It's a story most people have never heard. Rowing is considered, the people who are into the sport will tell you it's the only true team sport because you need all 8 people pulling. You can't have somebody just go, yeah, I'm not going to pull my weight today, right? But there's this concept in rowing called swing. And what happens is when all 8 rowers are actually like perfectly synced up, you hit this almost Zen-like thing called swing, and it almost feels like the boat comes up out of the water and just moves on its own. They talk a lot about it in this book because they actually could achieve swing. What I'm getting at is it's exactly what that means. You got to have the right person in the right seat.
Yeah.
Wants to be there, who's passionate about it, and they're all working together. And when it all clicks, you hit swing. And I would love to get to a place from a business perspective where you're like, man, we got swing here at this company.
Is the book just about the story, or does it have business?
No, it's just a book about these guys.
Well, you need to write a book about swing because the whole time you're describing that, I never thought of a rowing team. It's like, I can't have someone do too much or too little.
Right.
Every single person has to be perfect.
Yep.
The same strength, the same pull, the same push, the same everything.
Yeah.
To do that swing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so yeah, they were at the men's so back then it was still basically what the best college team in the country represented the U.S. at the Olympics, and so they were from Seattle, and they put together. Anyway, read the book. It's. I mean, there's a lot of good lessons about leadership and those things, but it's not specifically a business book, but it's a really good read.
I love it. When's the movie coming out?
Christmas Day, I think.
Okay.
I just saw a trailer for it the other day. I was like, oh my god, they made it into a movie. So it'll be good. But where was I going with that? The back to the tools. Also stay tuned. We're going to be rolling out some additional resources from TCIA, including like a self-assessment that you'll be able to do, like, go through and how do you actually rate yourself on these things. And what we'll be able to do is work with you on that assessment. Say, okay, so here's the resource. If that's an area of weakness for you, great. Here's some resources.
Let's focus on this. This is the one that on the charts is the highest.
Yeah.
Let's focus on this and get this right before we start working on something you're pretty good at.
Right.
So far.
Right. Exactly. So again, we're in the process of rolling some of that stuff out. But that's going to be a great tool for folks too.
There's so many. I mean, walking around the show, I actually scheduled the time to walk around the show because last year I didn't get to see anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You were in the booth
the whole time in the booth, which I'm glad. It's good. But there's so many tools out there that keep coming to our industry.
Yep.
Before we wrap up here on this, is there any insight or any kind of special things or maybe a preview that you can give us for winter management? If somebody's thinking about going to winter management,
sure.
What's going to be there this year?
So we've got some really great speakers. We tried to cast a wide net. So we've got folks that are going to talk about AI. We've got a bunch of different, and like what might AI look like in this industry, right?
I love it.
So we'll definitely have a lot of things to kind of get you thinking.
Okay, I'm excited.
Always the networking. I can't say that. So we're back in Puerto Vallarta this year. It is a great layout.
It is.
It really facilitates that networking. As you said at the beginning, the education sessions are awesome, and it is absolutely worth it. But where you're really going to get your value and really get to learn a lot is all that networking opportunity. And, we're already at almost 300 people registered. You're going to, if you're not there, you're missing out on something special.
You sure are. I just talked to Dan Burke. Last year was his first year going, and he's so excited to go this year. Unfortunately, his wife's not going, but he's like, dude, I had so much fun. I connected. I'm seeing everybody at the show. I'm so excited for this year. I'm like, all right, we're going to hang out this year when we're there. So he's excited. Guys, if you've never been, go. You guys set up this year where you got to register first for the hotel. Great job. I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, damn it. Okay. I registered. First time I ever registered early because of that. So, no, I appreciate you jumping on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
The regular, Mr. Dave White from TCIA, guys. Listen, so many good tools in our industry. Share amongst your peers. Call. Get with TCIA. You got the puzzle. You got balloon growth, Vistage, EOS systems. So many cool things out there that you can utilize to help your business and help it to be able to expand and grow. And a great book, Rocket Fuel. So that's training talk for you guys that you got today. If you liked it, loved it, you got something out of it, all we ask is share it. And remember, continue to elevate the standard of our industry through safety, training, and innovation. See you guys. Bye.